Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me closely. In 2025, the best advice I can give you is this: be valuable, not available for everyone. Let me break it down. We live in a world where people are addicted to access. They want your time, your energy, your creativity, your peace, and they want it on demand. But let me ask you, do you think diamonds are available on every corner? Do you think the Rolls-Royce factory runs 24/7? No, because what is valuable is not always accessible. And what is always accessible is rarely valued. Some of you are exhausted right now, not because you're doing too much, but because you're doing too much for people who don't value it. You're available for everyone, and now you're tired, underpaid, disrespected, and underappreciated. Why? Because you've confused being valuable with being visible, and those are two different things. Let me get in your face a little. Your time is currency, and if you wouldn't hand out $100 bills to strangers on the street, then stop handing out your energy, your wisdom, your attention, your talent to people who haven't earned it. You've got to protect your space like it's sacred, because it is. Here's what happens when you're always available. People start to take you for granted, not because they're evil, but because human nature does not value what is always there. Familiarity breeds contempt. They stop saying thank you. They stop showing up on time. They stop investing back in you. And you, yes, you, start shrinking, doubting, over-explaining, and apologizing for simply having standards. Stop that. You are not a clearance item. You are not a discount version of your full potential. You were never meant to be everyone's go-to, everyone's emergency line, everyone's free therapist, free coach, or free audience. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to be respected. You are here to move with intention. Some people won't like it when you raise your standards. Let them go. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. Because you don't rise by being everywhere. You rise by being strategic about where you show up, who you serve, and what you allow. You don't need more followers. You need more focus. Stop chasing everyone's approval and start building your positioning. Positioning is when people talk about you in rooms you haven't entered yet. When people know your name, not because you're always available, but because you're always impactful. You don't need to do more to be respected. You need to say no more often. And listen, I get it. Saying no can feel uncomfortable, but let me reframe it. Every time you say yes to something out of guilt or fear, you are saying no to something aligned with your calling. You are not being rude. You are being responsible. You are not pushing people away. You are pulling your purpose in. 2025 is not the year for burnout. It's the year of boundaries. It's not the year of people pleasing. It's the year of positioning. It's not about doing more. It's about being more valuable to the right people by being less available to the wrong ones. So protect your energy, guard your space, sharpen your vision, and raise your value by being unavailable to the noise and fully present for your purpose. Your time is your most precious resource, and in 2025, you have to treat it like the wealthy treat their money, with strategy, precision, and purpose. The rich don't spend impulsively, they invest. Every minute you give away without intention is a withdrawal from your life's account with no return. People who understand value know that time is the one thing you can't get back. You can lose money and make it again. You can lose opportunities and find new ones. But time, once it's gone, it's gone. And too many people are out here treating their time like loose change instead of the high yield investment that it is. We have this dangerous culture that celebrates being constantly busy and always available. But busyness is not the same as productivity, and availability is not the same as impact. The people who win long term are not the ones saying yes to every call, every message, every request. They're the ones who know how to say no, not because they're arrogant, but because they understand the value of focus. You can't build anything meaningful if you're constantly distracted. You can't move forward if you're always pulled in 100 different directions. You need to start treating your time like the rich treat their capital. Only invest it where the return is worth it. That means relationships that build, not drain. projects that align, not distract, conversations that elevate, not deplete. Don't be afraid to audit your calendar like a CO. Cut what doesn't serve your mission. Limit what doesn't move the needle. Prioritize what makes you better, not just busy. And the moment you start doing this, people will notice. You'll stop being seen as just another option and start being respected as someone who operates with intention. That's when your value multiplies. Not because you're doing more, but because you've stopped giving your most valuable asset to people and places that didn't deserve it in the first place. So ask yourself, are you spending your time or are you investing it? Because in 2025, the return on your life will be determined by the quality of your focus, not the quantity of your availability. When you're always available, you slowly start becoming invisible, not physically, but in terms of how people perceive your value. The truth is, people don't treasure what they can access at any moment. What's common becomes background noise. When you're always picking up the phone, always saying yes, always making yourself accessible, people stop appreciating the effort behind your presence. Not out of malice, but because human psychology is wired to overlook what's always there. Think about it. The sun rises every day, we expect it, we barely look at it, but when there's an eclipse, suddenly everyone stops, looks up, and talks about it. Why? Because it's rare. It breaks the rhythm of constant availability, and that rarity commands attention. Some of the most talented, brilliant people are overlooked, not because they lack value, but because they've made themselves too easy to access. They've said yes too many times. They've shown up too often, too fast, without conditions. And in doing so, they unintentionally trained people to see their presence as ordinary instead of exceptional. There's a dangerous line between being dependable and being taken for granted. You can still be reliable, still be loyal, still show up, but you have to do it with intention. You have to be aware of how often you give your energy without discernment, because if people think you'll always be there, they stop showing gratitude. They stop checking in. They stop reciprocating. They start expecting, not appreciating. And over time, resentment starts to grow. Not theirs, but yours, quietly, silently, until one day you wake up and realize you've been pouring into people who never even noticed you were overflowing. So if you want to be respected, if you want your presence to have weight, you must first become less predictable, less accessible, more selective. That doesn't mean you become cold. It means you understand that when you preserve your presence, you protect your power. In 2025, let your presence be a privilege, not a guarantee. Let people miss you. Let people wait for you. Let your absence teach them what your constant presence couldn't. Because when you're everywhere all the time, you become nothing special. But when you move with purpose and protect your space, you become unforgettable. You were not born to be a watered-down, second-rate budget version of who you really are. Yet every time you shrink yourself to fit someone else's comfort zone, every time you lower your standards just to keep the peace, every time you say yes when your spirit is screaming no, you are offering the world a discount version of your greatness. And the truth is, no one truly respects what they get at a discount. They'll take it, sure, they'll use it, but they won't honor it. When you walk into a store and see something marked down, you automatically assume it's either old inventory or lower quality. And that's exactly how people will begin to treat you if you keep devaluing yourself just to be accepted, liked, or needed. They'll assume your time is cheap. They'll assume your energy is endless. They'll assume your talent is replaceable, not because it is, but because you taught them to think that. You cannot keep giving premium energy to people, places, and projects that pay inattention, convenience, or guilt. You have to understand that you were built for impact, not for free trials. Stop giving people access to your mind, your heart, your creativity when they haven't paid the price of respect, consistency, or mutual growth. Being humble doesn't mean you settle. Being kind doesn't mean you shrink. There's a difference between service and servitude. Serving others comes from strength, but being a doormat comes from insecurity. And if you keep putting yourself on sale, Don't be surprised when people start acting like your worth is negotiable. You are the only person responsible for setting your value, not your job title, not your follower count, not your friends, not your family, you. And the moment you decide to stop giving discounts on your presence, your voice, your standards, everything shifts. You attract better, you speak bolder, you move with clarity, because when you believe in your own worth, others have no choice but to adjust. So in 2025, the version of you that's chasing validation, over-explaining decisions, begging for opportunities, and tolerating disrespect, that version has to expire. The world doesn't need your imitation. It needs your full, unapologetic, high-value self. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for deciding you're no longer available at clearance prices. The energy you put out is the energy that finds its way back to you. Life is a mirror. It doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you are. You attract what you reflect. And in 2025, if you want better relationships, better opportunities, better outcomes, you've got to start by becoming a better, higher version of yourself. Because if you keep showing up with low standards, low confidence, low boundaries, you're going to keep attracting people and situations that match that frequency. You can't expect loyalty while tolerating disrespect. You can't expect abundance while operating out of scarcity. You can't expect excellence while carrying a mindset of good enough. The truth is, people don't treat you based on your potential. They treat you based on what you reflect back to them through your actions, your tone, your choices, your standards. And if you're radiating insecurity, chaos, neediness, or desperation, then don't be surprised when all you attract are situations that keep reinforcing those exact things. But the moment you start honoring yourself, your time, your energy, your peace, the world adjusts. You start to reflect confidence, not arrogance, clarity, not confusion, purpose, not pressure. And suddenly you find yourself attracting people who don't need to be convinced of your value. They see it because you live it. This is why alignment matters. When you're in alignment, you don't have to chase, you don't have to beg, you don't have to prove. You simply become. You operate from a place of internal worth, and that creates an external reality that matches. That's not manifestation hype, that's universal law. You want more respect? Start respecting yourself more. You want higher level connections? Operate at a higher. You want to be seen differently? Carry yourself differently. You don't have to fight to be seen. When you shine from within, the glow is undeniable. And when you carry that level of self-awareness and self-respect, you stop attracting chaos, inconsistency, confusion. You start attracting peace, power, and purpose. Not because it's magic, but because it's a reflection. In 2025, stop waiting for the world to shift in your favor. You shift first. You rise first. You evolve first. And everything around you will rise to meet you or fall away, because it can't. Either way, you win. Trying to please everyone is the fastest route to being overlooked. You dilute your power every time you bend, mold, or shrink just to make someone else comfortable. In 2025, you have to choose positioning over pleasing, because those who are constantly trying to be liked rarely end up being respected. Respect doesn't come from availability, agreement, or people-pleasing. It comes from posture, principle, and presence. Let me tell you something real. People follow those who know who they are, not those who try to be everything for everyone. If you're constantly adjusting your message, your values, your goals just to stay in someone's good graces, you're not building a brand, you're becoming a mirror for their expectations. And here's the danger in that. As soon as they change their mood, you lose your identity. That's not power, that's dependency. Positioning means you plant your flag, you stand for something, you operate with clarity. You know your value and you don't compromise it to gain applause. It's not about being stubborn, it's about being strategic. When you position yourself well, people begin to see you differently. You're not just another voice in the crowd. You're a presence. You're someone whose time, attention, and association carry weight. People-pleasing may earn you quick approval, but it never earns you long-term impact. because people will applaud you today for saying yes to everything, and tomorrow they'll forget you were even there. But when you position yourself with purpose, you become the person who gets called on, not walked over. You stop chasing seats at tables and start building rooms that others want to enter. You stop explaining yourself and start embodying what you believe. Pleasing is reactive, positioning is intentional. And when you make that shift, you'll realize that not everyone needs to agree with you, not everyone needs to like you. That's not your job. Your job is to be aligned, clear, and unshakable, because people don't invest in the most agreeable person. They invest in the one who stands in truth and operates in excellence. So no more shape-shifting just to be accepted. No more lowering your standards to be liked. In 2025, let your presence say everything your mouth doesn't need to. Position yourself, and the right people will find you, follow you, and respect you, not because you please them, but because you led them. There's a quiet kind of power in the word no. Not the loud, dramatic kind, not the rude, defensive kind, but the calm, confident no that comes from someone who knows exactly who they are, what they stand for, and where they're headed. In 2025, mastering the art of saying no with class is not just a survival skill, it's a success strategy. Because every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve your purpose, you are silently saying no to something that does. People who can't say no get trapped in cycles of overcommitment, burnout, and frustration. They become reliable to everyone else, but unrecognizable to themselves. They're the first to help, the last to rest, and the ones most often overlooked. Not because they aren't good people, but because they never created a line between being kind and being consumed. You have to learn to say no without guilt, without apology, and without losing your peace. That doesn't mean you become cold or dismissive. It means you learn how to protect your energy with grace. You learn to decline without defensiveness. You learn to set boundaries without burning bridges. That's what saying no with class looks like. A blend of strength and poise. Because when you know your priorities, it becomes easier to spot distractions. When you're clear on your mission, you stop volunteering for other people's chaos. And when you value your time, you stop letting people waste it with quick favors, guilt trips, or obligations that don't serve your growth. The truth is, every powerful person you admire got there by being selective, by saying no to things that didn't align, by making peace with not being available for everything or everyone. And if you want to rise, if you want to make room for what really matters, you're going to have to do the same. So in 2025, give yourself permission to protect your purpose. Say no to draining conversations, half-hearted commitments, and relationships that only take. Say no with love, but with firmness, with empathy, but with finality. Say no like your future depends on it, because it does. And when you do, watch how your value, your peace, and your influence rise in ways that saying yes never could. So here's the truth that 2025 is demanding from all of us. It's not about how many people you can reach. It's about how many lives you can actually impact. And you cannot impact anyone deeply if you're constantly drained, distracted, or diminishing yourself to stay available. Being valuable means knowing your worth, owning your presence, and protecting your peace, even if that means disappointing a few people who were never meant